Yew left his fingerprint on the culture and economy of Singapore. And for more on that, I'm joined by Gregory Poling, an expert in Southeast Asia affairs and a fellow with the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Welcome back to the show, Greg.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to get your thoughts on Lee Kuan Yew's passing. Obviously, we've seen in these stories that, Singaporeans feel this deep sense of gratitude. They are very distraught and devastated by his passing.
Yeah, it's a transformational moment for Singapore. This has clearly been a long time coming. Lee Kuan Yew has been sick before. He's been in the hospital now for about a month. But the psychological impact of having a founding father, a man of unparalleled stature when it comes to the impact and the longevity of his role in Singapore, is clearly having a psychological impact that will continue for some time.
Talk about some of Singapore's perceptions, though. It's one of the wealthiest countries in the world, but at the same time, there are plenty of others out there who believe it's one of the strictest. Some were not, a fan of some of his policies, but obviously, that's just a perception.
I think for most Singaporeans, what you're seeing is genuine admiration, if conflicted, for Lee Kuan Yew. Most older Singaporeans recognize the value of having such a transformational leader who really built a city-state out of nothing at a time when they felt imminent peril from neighbors. Younger Singaporeans, however, especially since the 2011 election, we've been seeing more space for dialogue in public, and part of that is a recognition of phenomenal economic growth, but at what cost? And they do recognize that perhaps the weights were a little too far against civil liberties in exchange for that economic growth.
You mentioned economic growth. There have been a host of countries headquartering there. A million new residents have made Singapore their home. A lot of multinationals living there now. How do you see Singapore changing, or do you even see it changing significantly now that this era is over?
Singapore is definitely changing, and it has this image, especially in the West, of being this unchanging bureaucratic state, but it's quite clear that in recent years, the PAP, the ruling party, has recognized that younger Singaporeans require a modified social contract, that now that economic growth has been so successful, there is a greater desire for more civil liberties, more space for independent political thought and the like. We saw that with the 2011 elections, in which the PAP won resoundingly, but with the lowest margin they've ever had in history. And the leadership has taken note of that. They are becoming slowly and steadily more responsive. They do better communicating. It still has a long way to go, and to Western eyes, it might seem like a nanny state, as many have criticized it, but clearly it is an evolving one.
And almost to the very end, Lee Kuan Yew was still involved in politics. He hadn't been prime minister in quite some time, but played a role in government. What do you think will happen next for the country without him?
It's a vacuum that's going to be felt. He has withdrawn more and more in recent years as his health has been failing, but doubtlessly he did play an advisory and a mentor role. That said, his notion of what Singapore is, the pragmatism that should dominate its policy, has been so ingrained throughout the PAP bureaucracy and the leadership of his son, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, and the entire generation of current leaders of Singapore, that it's an imprint that'll be felt for a generation or more going forward.
Greg Poling, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on Lee Kuan Yew.